Hey everyone, it's been about 15 days since the crash at 70.3 Worlds in Nice, and a lot has happened in that time, and I've given some updates on how the healthcare has been going and how different things are with me, but I just really wanted to put together a real recap of what happened and kind of go through it all and just let everybody know, answer questions, and for myself, it'll just help to kind of accept what's happened and hopefully move forward with more positive things to come. So as everybody knows, I was in France in Nice for this race, 70.3 Worlds. Felt great, and without going through too much detail about the race, basically I was in a good position. I had swam and biked well. I was about 2/3 or 3/4 done the bike, and I ended up crashing on the descent. Now the crash was completely 100% my own fault. I had done the descent twice already, and I was confident on it, and I decided to follow another athlete, which is Eric Lagerstrom, who's very, very good descender. His technical skills are amazing, and he'd ridden that descent way more than me as well. So I was kind of basically trying to match his pace, and instead of taking my own visual cues of where the turn is and how sharp it is, and the map on my Garmin shows me a map of the road ahead, which I was using as a reference. I wasn't really using that, so I basically had thrown my plan out the window, and that's why I ended up going into this turn with way too much speed, and tried to get rid of my speed, but ended up just sliding into this guardrail, flying off my bike and crashing into a post directly with my shoulder kind of rolling as I was midway through rolling in the air. So as soon as I smashed into this post, I knew that something was very, very wrong in my shoulder. I was able to get help from the official that was on the motorbike behind me, and he immediately called for the medical team to come. Volunteers came very quickly. Unfortunately, it was about 30 or 40 minutes before the ambulance came. In this time, that was probably the most pain I'd ever felt in my life. Well, it's definitely the most pain I've ever felt. I would later find out at least a dozen fractures in my scapula and another fracture in my clavicle as well. So obviously it makes sense that there was quite a bit of pain there, and really it was just an unfortunate. I mean, obviously crashing is unfortunate. It could have been way worse. I could have easily broken my neck, or I could have crashed my head straight into this post. At that speed, I could have been a quadriplegic easily. So I'm so grateful that didn't happen. I mean, hitting your shoulder is painful, but there's a heck of a lot of bone and muscle and structures in between the edge of your shoulder and your spinal cord or your head. So that took all the impact, broke everything in here, and saved the kind of more important parts. So I'm really happy about that. But it ended up taking about 3.5 hours to get to the hospital in 2 different ambulances. I kind of had a sling to help support it, but that broke. It was just made out of paper, and there were different times where we would go over bumps and turns down this narrow descent, and my shoulder would shift and the pain would be excruciating again for a few seconds. So that was a difficult 3.5 hours getting to the hospital, but once I was there was a lot more waiting, but at least I was stationary and I was able to get a little bit of morphine to help with the pain, and things were kind of looking up. My whole family, my mom, my dad, my stepmom, and my girlfriend in Montana were all there at the hospital waiting for me, and they started on rebooking flights and just getting ready to... Neville, stop making so much noise. Just getting ready for me to be able to leave as quickly as possible. So once we got the x-rays and the CAT scan and they told me that I needed surgery, we knew that I needed to get home for that. So we ended up on a flight the next day with same flight with my dad and my stepmom, and it cost a heck of a lot of money, but we should get it back from insurance. Luckily, I had the extended medical insurance through Triathlon Ontario, which should cover that, as well as insurance on my credit card, which should help cover the flights as well. So should be fine there financially, which is a huge relief. Got back to Canada. My dad had set me up with some of the best shoulder specialists in Ontario, and kind of got the CAT scans and X-ray done there, and they sort of said there is a lot of breaks and a lot of damage, but everything's aligned reasonably well, so we're going to wait a little bit. We're not going to book a surgery. We're going to have you go see Dr. Henry in Sunnybrook Hospital in Toronto. So that's where I went next, which was on I believe it was the Friday after the race. And so that was 5 days later, and he leaned a little bit more towards surgery. We had a conversation with him. He spent a lot of time with me. I really appreciate him taking the case so seriously, knowing that this is my career and we need to get this fixed properly. They basically said if this was, an everyday person just who does exercise for fun and doesn't have any, professional sports to compete in, they would have done no surgery and just kind of said, it'll heal, it'll be fine, you'll be able to do everything you can. But with me, he knows it needs to be perfect, so he did suggest fixing the lower part of the scapula, which broke at an inward angle, so it would have the chance of rubbing on my ribs after it heals, which wouldn't be a very smooth or efficient motion for the shoulder. And also the coracoid process at the front of the clavicle here on my other side. There's a couple important muscles that attach there, and it was broken, so he figured we need to put screws in there to straighten that and to make sure that those muscles have something solid to work with. Fortunately for me, there was actually a scapula fracture conference of all the experts in North America who were meeting the day after that appointment I had with Dr. Henry. So he was sending one of his fellows down to this to experience it, and there was going to be some live surgeries presented at this, and basically he asked his fellow to present this to the leading expert for scapular surgery in North America, and he was actually very interested in the case and took the time to really go through and say what he would do to fix the injury. So I was extremely confident that I have the absolute best medical opinions here. And the final decision by the time I got in for surgery on Thursday of the next week, so that would be now 11 days after the injury, they ended up deciding to fix the lower part of the scapula with 2 metal plates, the coracoid process up here with 2 screws. This is all permanent metal that's going in, and also the clavicle over here, which is the more common bone to break. They're fixing that with 1 plate. Unfortunately, that's going to have to actually be removed in another surgery 3 months from now, just because of the location of the break was right at the end of the clavicle, where they can't just put screws in on either side and leave it in. They had to kind of put a hook around the end of the scapula to hold it in, and it has to be removed just with the location of it. So unfortunately that's going to limit my mobility during the recovery process a little bit, and I won't actually be able to swim or do any overhead motions with force until that comes out in about 3 months. So looks like I'll be swimming again mid to late December. I'm definitely going to be in the pool before then, doing drills and working on my core and my rotation and anything that I can, but that's not for a few weeks now with the scar having to heal and get those staples out and everything else. But
what do you want me to say?
Whatever you want.
Oh, I did surgery, cut me open a bunch of times, and I think that it went good. Hopefully I didn't have to get the clavicle surgery, because that means I have to come back, but they did at least 2, I think, and I can't feel my arm that good, but I think that comes back pretty quick. So, and then they forgot to give me a prescription, so they're gonna have to, they said they're gonna go back and do that, because once it wears off it's gonna hurt a lot.
Yeah.
But I was in there for how long?
4.5 hours.
4.5 hours, so that was longer than they said, so maybe they did do the clavicle surgery, but I guess we'll tell you later.
I mean, the last few days have been very, very tough coming home from that hospital, and once the freezing wore off, the pain was pretty extreme. I didn't expect it. I was probably an 8 out of 10 pain for 8-10 hours after the surgery, and I just, it was really, really tough. We ended up modifying this sling a little bit. It had my elbow way out at a big angle, and that was putting more pressure. And once we took that out, it actually brought the pain from like an 8 down to probably a 6 immediately. So that was enough that I was able to get a few hours of sleep and start towards the recovery. The few days after that, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, have pretty much all just been take as much pain medication as I'm allowed to try to get through it and minimize the pain as much as I can. So I was able to do that. Unfortunately, it's just, I don't like being on those strong pain medications. They really make you feel just weird. I don't like it. My concept of time was all off, and it just felt like the days were just kind of going by in a blur, and I just wouldn't really know what I even did that day. I mean, obviously I'd just been sitting around watching TV, but all the days were kind of blurring together, and I'm now really cutting back on the pain medications, and everything's kind of starting to feel pretty good. I haven't taken any painkillers now for about 6 hours or more, which usually I take them every 4 hours. And just icing has been helping, and I'm really happy that I'm kind of able to start feeling okay to do stuff. I've slept enough, and I'm really on the road to recovery now. I mean, it was definitely another setback temporarily getting the surgery. Before the surgery, I was back to the gym a couple times, doing stair climber as well as spinning on a bike, doing leg press and some other core exercises and some leg exercises. But as soon as I got this surgery, it was like it was kind of like restarting the whole recovery process, which is a bit frustrating, but I know that it was very important to get it done for the long term. So there's going to be a lot of work ahead to get back to where I was even on the swim, and my swim wasn't even where I wanted to be. That's my area that I wanted to improve on. So I guess for now I just got to focus on what I can do. I'm going to be biking a lot, spinning on the indoor trainer on Zwift, or just getting some mileage in and starting that hopefully very soon in the next couple days. For now, I think I just need to try to go for a walk, do something, because I've been sitting in this house doing nothing for days. And just try to find something to look forward to. Just keep moving forward. And I mean, like, the season completely turned upside down. I basically just over halfway through my season, I had 4 more races left, and all of a sudden, with one very temporary mistake, all of a sudden now I can't race for 6 months at least, and it's just tough to see all these people at the races that I should be doing, and it was my own mistake, and it could have been prevented, but you got to learn from it and be grateful I didn't break my neck, and just get through it. So I mean, thanks to everyone who's kind of offered support. I've had so many friends offer to drive me places and bring me baked goods, and just visiting just really helps bring the spirits up. So family, like, every day they're always calling and concerned and trying to help the best they can. And Montana, like, she's just been putting all her energy into helping me get better. So I can't even thank her enough. Like, she's missed out on all kinds of sleep and just normal life things, because things have been kind of turned upside down here. But I don't really have any other options but to come back from this. I'm not gonna go and get some job I don't like and make back the money I lost or anything. Like, I'm doing fine, and I'm gonna get by, and I'm gonna be back racing next year, and hopefully February and or March, and this is just what happens. And I was super lucky before this to not have any injuries, so I'm gonna get through this one and really learn from this and be careful in the future, obviously. But there's risks that go with this sport, and I took those risks full well knowing what could happen. So thanks so much for following along, and I'm gonna keep you guys up to date and get back and start getting some training in and doing what I can. So things are looking up, and I'll keep you updated.